The mansion, drowning in lights, was crowded with people. It was easy for me to get lost in this crowd. I just had to get to the helicopter before my parents and security intercepted me. "Gina, you can't run away from your own engagement!" Mom's voice was heard. "I'm not engaged!" I shouted back angrily, showing a finger without a ring. "And who are you going to? To that beggar?" Mom's words made me mad. After all that, I managed to slip past the guards and get into the helicopter. "To Texas," I commanded the pilot. I felt like I was capable of anything, and nothing can stop me now. Hi, my name is Gina, and this is my story of how tips made me a millionaire. And it all started in an ordinary cafe where I worked as a cashier and a waitress in one person. We lived in a suburb in South Texas. We had an old house and a small farm. It wasn't a limo waiting for me in the morning, but Mom's old bike. And I was riding this bike to a small school where everyone knew each other. Every day after school, I was going to work at the Lazy Coyote Cafe. Over the years of working in a cafe, I managed to get along well with the guests. They greeted me with a smile, and many even left good tips. And everything would have been like this until the very end of school, if not for one guy. He appeared in the cafe only once. With a sad look, he drank one glass of cola, fingering some pieces of paper in his hands, then put something in the box for a tip and left. Opening the box, I found a lottery ticket. A strange way to thank the waiter. I was about to throw away this useless piece of paper, but someone distracted me and I put it on the counter. In the evening, when all the visitors left, I came across that lottery ticket again. I don't know what prompted me, but I took my mobile, went to the lottery website, and registered. And of course, I forgot about it in the same second. The next day was no different from the previous ones. But in the evening, some men in suits and journalists with cameras burst into the cafe. They were followed by my mother, pale and shocked. She pointed at me and murmured faintly, "Here she is, that's Gina." One of the men in the suit literally jumped on the spot and rushed to me. "Here is our winner," he exclaimed. "A simple girl at the checkout. That's luck." Who are you?" Because of the shock, I even began to stutter. "She's in shock." The man patted me on the shoulder sympathetically. "Of course, one doesn't become a millionaire every day." "A millionaire?" I mumbled. "How old are you?" 17. "Wow, such wealth at 17!" He turned to my mother. She nodded in confusion. In general, I could not finish that shift. And this was no longer necessary because a huge pile of money fell on me. I won $45 million. An unthinkable amount that went to me, and not to the guy who left the lottery ticket as a tip. And needless to say, my life changed instantly. We left Texas for good in a couple of weeks. Now we live in New York, in our own mansion. Naturally, my parents and I didn't work. What for? There's enough money even for my children. I thought that millions would make me an incredibly happy person. But I was wrong. You won't believe it, but the delight of shopping disappeared after a month. There is no intrigue and trepidation. You just go to the store and buy whatever you like. The only thing that pleased me was the opportunity to travel the world. And then, all the time, the guy, thanks to whom my family managed to get out of poverty, did not go out of my head. He should have been in my place. Not even like that. I was in his place, and it seemed to me a huge injustice. Money is, of course, great, and it is much more pleasant to suffer in a limousine than riding on my mother's old bicycle. But in fact, it was his money. What if he needs it? What if now he lives as poorly as I once lived? I decided to find the stranger and share the winnings. You may call me crazy, but I couldn't do otherwise. It would be more correct. However, it was not easy to find the stranger, even with my capabilities. I had to contact a private detective agency. This guy turned out to be an even more mysterious type. "His name is Michael Spencer. Here is his address," the detective said at the meeting. That's all we managed to find out. Who he is and what he does is unknown. Flying to Texas in a private helicopter, I kept thinking, who will Michael turn out to be? But what if he himself is fabulously rich, and my visit will only make him laugh? It's okay, I'll just go home and continue to live my boring rich life, but with peace of mind. However, upon arriving at the place, instead of a luxurious mansion, I saw an old house near the coast. We landed not far from it. I got out of the helicopter and headed for the hut. When I knocked on the door, I felt that my heart was about to jump out of my chest. When the guy opened the door, that was a load off my mind. "I've seen you somewhere," he frowned. "I'm Gina, the waitress from the Lazy Coyote. You gave me a lottery ticket." Suddenly, he remembered. He smiled, invited me into the house, and offered me tea. Once inside, I barely hid the horror of what I saw. Everything was so old and decrepit that it seemed to fall apart if you just touched it or sat down. However, oddly enough, there was order around. And later, I even caught myself thinking it was quite cozy here. And imagine my surprise when Michael said that he lived here almost without adults. Why almost? Michael has a grandfather, but he is ill. So the guy takes care of both the house and the grandfather, who cannot do anything himself. His parents left him when Michael was only 15 years old. "Your life will change." I tried to stay positive. "Your ticket turned out to be the winning one. I don't need so much money. I want to share it with you." "I don't need your money." "What are you saying? How can you not need money?" "I can manage without it." Michael just shrugged. "I bought so many tickets and they all turned out to be losers. And yours won." Now I realized what kind of pieces of paper he crumpled then. These were the other tickets he bought to win. I've been trying to persuade Michael to take part of the winnings for a long time, but he stubbornly refused. Then I said I wasn't going anywhere until he accepted the money. Michael just shrugged his shoulders and began to do household chores, pretending that I wasn't there. And then he left for work altogether. Crazy! In addition to the heavy care of his grandfather, he also has to work. I decided to leave the money right at his house. And after writing him a note, I flew home. But after a couple of days, Michael returned everything and wrote that he did not need donations. Well, fuck him. What do I care about him? I tried to continue living my posh life. However, I still couldn't forget Michael. The more money I spent, the more I thought about him. This guy is there alone with a sick grandfather. He works and holds the whole house on his shoulders. I had to spend a considerable amount to get Michael's contacts because he doesn't even have social networks. I texted him and said I just wanted to know how he was doing. And a simple question suddenly became the beginning of close communication. We talked for days and nights. We discussed books, music, and TV series. Michael turned out to be such a nice and interesting guy, and communication with him caused an inexplicable thrill inside me. Meanwhile, my family plunged headlong into a rich life. My parents changed their social circle very quickly. The only salvation at social events was correspondence with Michael. I noticed that he makes a lot of mistakes. Just as a joke, I pointed this out, and Michael's answer astonished me. He doesn't go to school. To survive, he has to work hard, and there is simply no time for study. Then I began to send him money. But Michael returned it, and then said that he would stop communicating with me if I continued to impose help on him. And such stupid stubbornness infuriated me terribly. I decided to go to him again. Michael made me feel welcome and said that I could stay with him for a couple of days, but immediately clarified that he would not accept the money. Then I went the other way. When he returned from work, he saw that all the kitchen cabinets and the refrigerator were filled with food. I ordered the best groceries and also medicine for his grandfather. Michael couldn't take it all and throw it away, and that made him angry. "I told you, I don't need help. I don't even have anything to repay you with." "But I don't need a payment." "Nothing happens for nothing," Michael said seriously. "You're wrong." "You wouldn't understand. I live alone, and I've learned to read people like a book. You need to be able to achieve everything yourself to survive." Michael's words startled me. I felt so sorry for him that I cried into my pillow all night. Michael is not being mean, it's just a defensive reaction. Over the years of loneliness, he had forgotten how to trust people. But I intended to fix it. I stayed with him for a few days and helped with everything, and I saw how the guy was changing before my eyes. He began to smile, and I realized that he had the most beautiful smile in the world. Last night, we didn't sleep at all. We walked along the coast and looked at the ocean. It was so good with Michael that I asked him to take my hand. And that night, we almost kissed. But Michael suddenly pulled away. "Don't. I'm not your equal. You won't be happy with me." Don't be silly. Gina, they won't let us be together. I decide what's best for me. I have so much money that I can afford everything. Money is not the main thing. You have parents. This is the most valuable thing that can be. After Michael's words, I burst into tears. After all, I fell in love with him and wanted to be with him. I was sure that my parents would understand me and accept Michael. But I was wrong. They were against our relationship. Moreover, they found me a groom from a very influential family. And even worse, he was supposed to arrive any day now. But the biggest blow was Michael's silence after I left. He didn't reply to my messages. Doesn't he love me? After all, in the last message I wrote to him about my feelings, this terrible thought made me agree to the engagement. If Michael doesn't love me, then it doesn't matter who I marry. I thought I would be able to accept and cope with my feelings and emotions, but it didn't work out. You already know how the engagement ended. I escaped to Texas by helicopter. And when a sleepy Michael opened the door for me, I almost knocked him down, throwing myself into his arms. And we finally kissed. Even after receiving $45 million, I wasn't as happy as I am now. And when Michael said he loved me, I burst into tears of happiness. And you know, my wedding did take place. But it was Michael who became my fiancé. After a while, seeing him and getting to know him better, my parents approved of our union. And now, finally, Michael will be able to be truly happy. He will study again, and his grandfather will get better care. And most importantly, Michael found faith in people. What would you do in my place? Would you split the winnings? Write your answers in the comments. Click on the thumbs up button under this video and share it with your friends.